Contrary to popular belief about increasing life expectancy, grim statistics show that a significant portion of older adults do not reach the age of 85. Moreover, despite the conviction about the determining role of genetics or chance, there are subtle mistakes that erode health daily, which many do not even suspect until a critical moment. Below are 6 key mistakes that often prevent longevity, as well as strategies to prevent them, allowing you to increase life expectancy by years and even decades. Imagine the story of 78-year-old Walter, a retired accountant from Ohio, who always thought he led a healthy lifestyle. Regular medical checkups, careful attention to health, and daily walks seemed to him a sufficient guarantee. However, last month, Walter faced a harsh reality. His organs began to fail rapidly, and the process turned out to be irreversible. The reason for this was 6 inconspicuous mistakes that he had been making for years, without realizing their destructive impact. "If I had known about this before," he said bitterly, "I thought I was taking care of myself, but in fact, I was harming myself every day." The following will reveal information that Walter would have liked to know many years ago so that others could avoid a similar fate. 1. Permanent lack of water in the body. Does a person realize that day after day they are putting their organs at risk of dehydration? A significant proportion of older people do not attach importance to how dangerous even slight dehydration can be after 65 years. It is a common misconception that enough fluid is consumed, but the reality is that even a small lack of water can significantly accelerate the aging process, exceeding the most pessimistic forecasts. Geriatrics experts from Johns Hopkins University emphasize that chronic moderate dehydration can accelerate aging by as much as 30%, leading to irreversible damage to the kidneys, heart, and brain. When the body is deficient in water, the blood becomes thicker, blood circulation slows down, and vital organs begin to break down at an accelerated rate. The most insidious aspect is that the feeling of thirst may be absent until dehydration reaches a significant degree. As an example, consider the story of Dorothy, a 72-year-old retired teacher from Seattle who did not attach much importance to water consumption. During medical examinations, she had normal blood pressure readings, and on most days she felt satisfactory. However, Dorothy suddenly suffered a severe stroke, which led to partial paralysis. The neurologist discovered a disturbing pattern. Many years of cellular dehydration led to thickening of her blood, creating favorable conditions for the development of a stroke. Her cells were essentially shriveling from the inside, the doctor explained, emphasizing that the patient did not experience any symptoms until it was too late. From this day on, it is recommended to implement a simple but effective strategy to maintain water balance in the body, called sip by sip. Its essence is to ensure constant access to water, placing it near the bed, in a favorite chair, and in the kitchen. It is important not to wait for the feeling of thirst, since with age this physiological need may be dulled, signaling dehydration when it has already occurred. Instead, you should regularly take small sips throughout the day, aiming to consume 6 to 8 glasses of water. To control the level of hydration, it is recommended to pay attention to the color of urine, which should be light yellow. Dark urine indicates a lack of fluid in the body and requires immediate action. The immediate implementation of this system is extremely important, as organs need enough water to ensure their optimal operation. Are you ready to make this simple change to your lifestyle that could potentially extend your life by several years? The second important aspect that requires attention is hidden inflammation caused by certain foods. Ordinary products in the kitchen can provoke inflammatory processes that harm arteries and organs without causing obvious symptoms. This hidden inflammation occurs imperceptibly but has a destructive effect on the body from the inside. Studies conducted at Harvard Medical School show that the consumption of certain foods after 65 years can cause systemic inflammation, accelerating cell aging and deterioration of organs. Of particular concern is the fact that many of these products are traditionally considered beneficial. Dr. Elizabeth Carson, a leading researcher in aging and nutrition, notes that the inflammatory response to certain foods undergoes significant changes with age. What the body could tolerate at 40 becomes potentially dangerous at 70. Consider the case of Timothy, a 77-year-old former construction worker from Michigan who, for many years, maintained an active lifestyle and what he believed to be a balanced diet. His menu was dominated by whole-grain baked goods, he used vegetable oils for cooking, and he preferred diet products with artificial sweeteners to control his weight. However, to his surprise, Timothy experienced sudden heart failure. After a thorough examination, a cardiologist determined that the root cause was long-term food-related inflammation. His arteries were in a state of chronic inflammation, the doctor stated, emphasizing that this was a direct result of his eating habits, specifically those foods that he believed were contributing to his health. In light of this, there is an urgent need to eliminate three main triggers of inflammatory processes from the diet: products based on white flour, including most types of bread and pasta, refined vegetable oils, especially corn, canola, and soybean, and all types of artificial sweeteners. As an alternative, it is recommended to give preference to foods with anti-inflammatory properties. Whole grain alternatives, olive oil, and natural sweeteners, such as a moderate amount of honey if necessary. Such a dietary adjustment can reduce the level of internal inflammation by up to 60% in just a few weeks. Isn't health a sufficient incentive to make these changes immediately? Sometimes, in the maze of conflicting nutritional recommendations, it's easy to feel confused. If the pursuit of a healthy diet does not bring the expected results, simply leave a number 2 in the comments to indicate that this information is relevant. However, in addition to nutrition, there is another aspect that deserves close attention: physical exercise. Paradoxically, a common type of physical activity adhered to by many older adults, contrary to popular belief, does not slow down, but rather accelerates the aging process. For many years, it was believed that moderate walking was the best option for maintaining health in old age. However, recent studies question this established postulate, indicating that such an approach may do more harm than good. Scientists from the Mayo Clinic, specializing in the study of longevity, have concluded that monotonous, low-intensity exercises, such as walking, have little positive effect on the aging body, and in some cases may even create additional stress on joints subject to age-related changes. Dr. Jonathan Hayes, a physiologist specializing in geriatrics, explains, after the age of 65, the body needs specific stimulation to maintain muscle mass and cell health. Traditional cardio exercises do not provide the desired effect, which leads to accelerated muscle loss, slowed metabolism, and cell aging. Consider the case of Patricia, a 75-year-old Florida retiree who, for many years, walked 2 miles daily, sincerely believing that this was enough to maintain her health. However, despite her commitment to physical activity, the news from her doctor that her muscle mass corresponded to that of a person 10 years older came as a shock. I couldn't understand what was wrong, she admitted. I exercised regularly, but my body still continued to age. Radical changes occurred only after Patricia made adjustments to her training program. After just 3 months, she noted a significant improvement in muscle tone, a surge of energy, and even improved coordination. Instead of the usual endurance exercises, it is worth paying attention to 10-minute strength training sessions aimed at renewing the body's cells. The key here is resistance, not exhausting loads. This does not mean lifting weights. It is enough to use your own body weight or light elastic bands to perform short but targeted movements that send a signal to the body about the need to maintain muscle and bone mass. You can start with simple exercises such as wall push-ups, squats with support on a chair, chair rises, and light elastic band pulls for the arms. It is important to perform each movement slowly, 10-12 repetitions, paying particular attention to proper technique. Such exercises stimulate the production of protective hormones, which slow down the aging process at the cellular level, something that cannot be achieved by walking alone. Dedicating just 10 minutes to this workout 3 times a week can lead to noticeable positive changes within a few weeks. Is 10 minutes a day too high a price to pay for the chance to extend your life? It is common knowledge that common treatments often relied upon by older adults can have a negative impact on the body, leading to deficiencies in vital nutrients. This hidden danger, unfortunately, is rarely discussed by doctors, yet it can insidiously undermine health, accelerating cognitive decline and damaging organs. Reputable research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition strongly suggests that many treatments commonly prescribed to older people can cause critical vitamin and mineral deficiencies. This, in turn, leads to accelerated cognitive decline and organ damage. Scientific data leaves no doubt. Certain treatments deplete specific nutrients, creating a dangerous domino effect in the body. Major systems begin to fail due to a lack of the nutrients needed for their function. An example is the story of Robert, a 76-year-old retired postman from Pennsylvania. For years, Robert faithfully followed his doctor's treatment recommendations. However, he did not suspect that this treatment was seriously depleting essential nutrients critical to his heart health. As a result, his energy was depleted, his memory began to deteriorate, and eventually his heart function declined to a dangerous level. What was supposed to help me was actually hurting me in ways no one explained, Robert bitterly noted when he discovered the connection. First and foremost, it is strongly discouraged to discontinue any treatment on your own without first consulting a qualified healthcare professional. Instead, during your next visit to the doctor, you should specifically discuss the possible risks of depleting vital nutrients that may be associated with your current treatment regimen. It is necessary to find out which supplements may be beneficial in your specific clinical case. At the same time, special attention should be paid to including nutrient-rich foods in your diet, such as colorful vegetables, high-quality proteins, and healthy fats, to provide the body with a wide range of essential vitamins and minerals. After consulting with your doctor, you may want to consider taking high-quality multivitamin complexes designed specifically for older adults. Such a proactive approach will prevent the development of dangerous nutrient deficiencies before they can cause irreparable damage to the body. Isn't health a sufficient reason to discuss this issue with your doctor this week? It is equally important to pay attention not only to the quantity but also to the quality of sleep. Why might 8 hours of sleep be insufficient for maintaining health if one critical aspect, often overlooked by older adults, is ignored? It may seem that the body is getting enough rest, but according to experts, poor sleep quality, even with an 8-hour regimen, can be as devastating as a complete lack of sleep. Sleep medicine specialists at Stanford University warn that poor quality sleep, even if of sufficient duration, can cause brain damage comparable to accelerating aging by 3 to 5 years annually after the age of 65. Dr. William Bennett, a prominent researcher in the field of sleep medicine, emphasizes that as we age, the phases of deep restorative sleep become shorter. At the same time, many older adults, unfortunately, focus solely on the number of hours spent in bed without paying due attention to the quality of their sleep. This neglect can lead to adverse consequences, as the body and brain are deprived of the opportunity to fully recover at the cellular level, which in turn significantly accelerates the aging process. An example is the story of Evelyn, a 69-year-old former librarian from Texas. The woman regularly slept for 8 hours, but woke up every morning feeling tired and broken. When she began to experience serious memory problems, her doctor referred her to a sleep specialist. Test results revealed a surprising outcome. Despite getting sufficient sleep, Evelyn was barely reaching the deep restorative phase. As a result, her brain was aging at an accelerated rate due to an undiagnosed issue. "I had no idea," Evelyn confessed. "I was convinced that 8 hours of sleep was the key to good health." To rectify the situation and improve sleep quality, experts recommend implementing a simple 30-minute bedtime ritual. Firstly, eliminate any exposure to blue light from electronic devices, phones, tablets, TVs, for half an hour before bed. Secondly, maintain a bedroom temperature between 64-68 degrees, 18 to 20 degrees Celsius, as research indicates that this temperature range optimizes deep sleep. Thirdly, stop drinking fluids 90 minutes before sleep to avoid nighttime awakenings to use the bathroom. Finally, sleep on your side with a pillow between your knees to maintain proper spinal alignment and ensure optimal breathing. These simple yet effective changes can increase the duration of deep sleep by up to 40%, allowing the brain and body to fully recover from daily stress and damage. Isn't a 30-minute ritual worth it to protect your brain from premature aging? Ask yourself, are you getting enough truly restorative sleep? If you're sleeping enough hours but still don't feel rested, comment number 5 to show you're actively monitoring your health and heeding expert advice. The invisible threat of loneliness. How social isolation undermines the health of older adults. Even minor social isolation poses a significant danger to older adults, shortening their lifespan more than smoking or obesity. Yet most people don't even realize they're at risk. It's easy to assume that infrequent phone calls or weekly walks are enough to maintain social activity, but scientific research disputes this notion. The National Institute on Aging conducted studies showing that limited social interaction accelerates aging processes at the cellular level. This occurs due to the activation of stress hormones that have a destructive effect on vital organs. Dr. Sarah Mitchell, a gerontologist specializing in the impact of social factors on aging, emphasizes that many older adults don't recognize their social isolation because they maintain sporadic contact with others. However, research indicates that the absence of regular and meaningful social connections leads to excessive production of cortisol and inflammatory compounds in the body, ultimately shortening lifespan. Consider the story of James, a 73-year-old retired engineer from Illinois. He meticulously monitored his physical health, adhering to a healthy diet and exercising regularly. James spoke to his children weekly and occasionally met friends at a cafe, believing his social life was adequate. However, his cognitive functions began to decline rapidly, baffling doctors. Ultimately, a geriatric specialist identified the cause. A gradual reduction in social contacts after retirement triggered a physiological stress response that damaged James's brain. I never imagined that a lack of regular social interaction could be so detrimental to my health, James confessed. I was sure I was fine because I wasn't completely alone. This week, consider implementing a system of 3 social connections, as research demonstrates their ability to reverse markers of cellular aging. Firstly, establish at least one meaningful individual interaction per week, such as a deep conversation with a loved one that goes beyond everyday topics. Secondly, participate in group activities involving interaction with multiple people simultaneously, whether it's attending classes, joining a club, or participating in a community event. Thirdly, create purposeful interaction by helping others through volunteering or mentoring, which is said to provide the most powerful anti-aging benefits. Start with one of these types of connections this week, gradually adding the others. It is emphasized that these connections are necessary for the normal functioning of the brain and body. Previously, we explored 6 insidious mistakes that prevent most seniors from living to 85. Chronic dehydration, consuming inflammation-triggering foods, improper exercise, treatment-related nutrient depletion, poor sleep quality, and social isolation. Each of these errors subtly damages the body over time. However, now specific solutions are offered to avoid these hidden dangers. Implementing these changes is seen not just as adding years to life, but as adding life to years. It's suggested to start with one solution today, add another tomorrow, and imagine how much better you'll feel in just a month. It's emphasized that everyone deserves to live a long and vibrant life, so don't become another statistic. Which of the 6 presented non-obvious risks impressed you the most? Share your opinion in the comments, indicating the number of the item that caused you the most serious reflection.